Hey everybody, it's No Slick Paranormal. This is story time. We'll have to do this in two parts. So let's get it going. Those of you who have watched me live and want to know more about this location in the daytime, I can give you a walk through here where we're going. This is where the voices have been heard the last few nights. But so this property, that's what everybody wants to know about. And it's a story I can't tell live, so I'll tell it here. So there was a couple that lived here. Not a good couple. Heavy on drugs. Lots of other things. They done some horrible things on this property. So the story is that the male, who was very abusive, and they were running their stuff out of this place and on this property, and the couple had a lot of females that would come up. So the guy was all about the females, right? Because y'all know how that goes in that world. If you got the right things, you can pick them up pretty easy. So the story is that the guy would bring them here. There's a cave down in there, and that he would go home and get food and blankets and stuff like that, and he would walk to this cave he had found, and he would stay gone for 2 or 3 days. And the story is that he would return, but the females, some of them never did. The story is told by a very believable person. I have no reason to doubt it. She's very old, very honest, to be completely honest with you. There's no reason not to believe what she's saying. So I do know the activity happened here. I knew them for years before I got the property. I knew them very well. The type of people they are, I would not doubt that he didn't do something like that. It is highly possible. More than that, it's probable. So the cave would be in that direction, somewhere in that thicket. As you can see, the trees are about 8 feet tall right there, and the bushes are, I mean, you can't even see the ground here. Even during the daytime, you can't see the ground. That's how thick this place is. So that's the story of the cave, was that he took them in there and would stay for days, and then he would come out, and some of them never came out. Well, when we first got the property, I was looking around it, and I found a bag. And in this bag that was thrown into the bushes, it contained very, very nice clothes. And it wasn't just basic clothes. It was a nice pair of shorts, name brand top, bra, underwear, and it was tied up in a grocery bag. It was tossed into an area thicker than that. So that raised my suspicions before I even heard the story from the lady. I was like, who takes off all their clothes and puts them in a bag and tosses the bag into the weeds? And why would you even do that? So everything matches up. There's been stuff dug up on this property by me that has been buried. That the people that had lived here doing that had buried. I found it by complete accident. I did go out and get a metal detector to do some more searching. So, I mean, I dug up a whole entire box of ammunition that was hid under a window. There's reports of pew-pews being hidden in trees. There's reports of pew-pews being buried in the ground in case the FBI had ever raided the place. That is from his ex-wife, as a matter of fact, those stories are. So I take that as completely believable. So that's just a little bit of the history here. That's the history of the cave that I still haven't investigated. But the cave is in this vicinity. And in this vicinity last night, we heard people yelling, hey. We heard laughing. We had a lot of activity, things that sounded like it was running through the brush up on us that you couldn't see. Minnie was in here when my tent got literally knocked around and bounced around and attacked. That happened last night, as a matter of fact. I took a light. I went immediately to the tent. I went around the tent. There was nothing there. But yet you could see it moving from the inside. I unzipped it on my live. No pauses, no breaks. Empty. Not a thing. So with the activity this place has, this area, you can figure that something absolutely did happen here and it was hidden. So the people doing this, what they were doing went on for 6-7 years in this area. So you can imagine what a house like that, what kind of activity and depression and anxiety and anger and what shady things went on by both of them in that 6 or 7 year period. It's a lot. I mean, it's a whole lot. You have to wonder if all that bad in this area, this is where I do my lives, hasn't triggered a cause and effect and drew something onto this property. And whatever the bad thing is that is here, that has been witnessed by literally hundreds upon hundreds of people during live videos, I don't think it wants us to find the cave. I really don't. I feel like it's trying to block us from doing that. I got scratched last night. I've been touched. I mean, it's a constant thing here. The activity just from the cave story alone is through the roof. I'm going to have to do another story on the people that passed here, another story on some practices that were done here that I know for sure happened because I was around when they happened, before I owned the land. The stories here are deep and dark and many. And I feel that's why we get the activity that we get here when we're live streaming. But this is part one. This is the cave. That's the story behind the cave. So I'll do a part 2 and 3 and explain some more of the stuff that happened here. So give us a follow. Check us out on TikTok. Same name all the way around. We'll be back here soon to do another investigation. Take care.